I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
And why their due process rights are being so flagrantly and horrifically violated.
What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. It's Thursday. You know what time it is. We're going to have some fun. We have interesting stories. Of course, always a mix of fun/disaster. First, we're going to start out with the special master disaster. That's fun. Donald Trump getting everything that he asked for and yet still not happy about it. That's fun. We also have conservatives melting into a white-hot pool of rage, and I mean white, because a black woman used a flute. Played a flute. I love that story. Jordan Peterson, back on the show, crying. Big surprise. We have that. And then we're going to go and talk, yes, a little bit about workers' rights. One story involving Hurricane Ian and workers who were asked to work. Hey, you still coming in, right? And then the inflation dance. What's the inflation dance? Well, I'm going to talk about that as well. So, yeah. All right. What we're going to do here is, before we start, I'm going to ask y'all to please like and share the stream. Of course, very important that you do so. It helps us out tremendously. And I mean tremendously. Very important that you share the stream. Give us a like and all that wonderful stuff. Let's see. With that, let's dive in. Former President Donald Trump's plan to use the special master to, in my opinion, delay the Justice Department from going through the documents seized from Lago continues to blow up in his face, which is great. You love to see it. We all do. Now, Special Master Raymond Dearie, according to reports, demanded that the former president state for the record if the Justice Department's inventory of government documents reclaimed from Mar-a-Lago is accurate. So, now look, it makes total sense from a legal standpoint, for an investigative standpoint, for Raymond Dearie to ask this. It seems like a normal request. Like, hey, look, just go in the record and confirm the stuff that was taken from Mar-a-Lago so that we can just, know what's there and be accurate about it. Well, again, the stated reason for Trump's team another thing that makes sense or would make sense is that they asked for the special master in order to have them go through the documents to ensure that there was nothing in there that could be protected by attorney-client privilege. So, hey, I want a special master to go through all the documents that were seized to make sure that there wasn't anything that was personal, to ensure that there wasn't anything mixed into it, because it was just a mess of documents all kind of filed together with no coordination, nothing like that. And we just want to make sure that you go through every single one and make sure that it is not protected by attorney-client privilege. Which, again, there's a lot of documents, somewhere around 200,000 pages of documentation that they would have to go through. So, look, to me, that suggests that the fact that they want to go through wanted to go through that, all of those documents, special master, means that they want to delay. They want to take time for this to happen. Okay? So now, that said, all Raymond Dearie is asking is, why don't you just go, tell the court, let us know that it's accurate. What's the big problem? Now, the big problem for Trump, well, there's a couple, I guess, problems with this. Again, he's going under oath to the court on the record, and we know Trump, he has verbal diarrhea.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
So, of course, it would be very difficult for him to be able to resist the urge to perjure himself. Or, of course, invoking the Fifth Amendment, both of which would likely not to be good. They would be bad, although, of course, perjury would end up having the worst outcome. And just invoking the Fifth, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're guilty. It just means that if you say something, you run the risk of incriminating yourself, but you have that protection. That, again, doesn't mean that you're guilty or innocent or anything like that. It just means like, hey, I just want to make sure that I don't incriminate myself. And then from a PR perspective, though, that does look incredibly bad. And of course, telling the truth would also be bad, because he would have to admit that, yes, he did indeed have classified material at Mar-a-Lago that did not belong to him, that actually belonged to the United States government, which would be a violation of several different laws, including the Espionage Act. So now we have the Trump team who is pushing back against this very, very reasonable request. And they're claiming that Dearie, who was chosen for the job by Trump-appointed Judge Eileen Cannon at their suggestion, they're now saying that the judge is, the special master, he is exceeding his authority. We can't have it. We can't have it. He's asking for too much. What? Let the irony sink in about this entire situation. Now, this is according to reports. Trump's team argued in court, argued to the court, Trump's team argued the court order appointing Dearie only made mention of a declaration from a government official verifying the Justice Department's search inventory, and that there was no such reference to a declaration from the Trump side. Adding, the former president's team also claimed that Dearie is exceeding his authority by asking that documents from the search be logged in categories more specific. Oh, we don't like specificity here than what U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon, who granted Trump's request for the review, contemplated in her appointment order. The report goes on to add that Trump's legal representatives are also asking for more time due to the volume of documents Trump was found to possess, an estimated 11,000, again, around 200,000 pages. In a letter to Dearie, they wrote, in conversations between plaintiff's counsel and the government regarding a data vendor, the government mentioned that the 11,000 documents contain closer to 200,000 pages. Yet estimated volume, with a need to operate under the accelerated timeframes supported by the government, is the reason why so many of the government's selected vendors have declined the potential engagement. So basically they're saying, we can't find anybody to go through this. We just can't find a vendor. Now the court's like, maybe if you pay them first, because we know Trump has a history of not paying the people that he hires. And that's absolutely true. Now, but let's just kind of break this down a little bit more simply. All right. Trump asked for a special master. He gets it. And is now mad that the special master is not doing the job the way that Trump wants him to, which is, in my opinion, to delay at such time that Trump either gets into power or finds some other way to escape consequences for what would be serious crimes with serious penalties. If you and I did this, if we had government documents stolen, what would happen? We'd be thrown in prison immediately. In fact, we have situations like that where the Trump administration, as well as the Obama administration, had used the Espionage Act against whistleblowers that were exposing war crimes, or the spying apparatus that were spying on American citizens. So understand that this entire situation, Donald Trump has been handled with kids' gloves. Special privileges here, special privilege there. Kids' gloves, we're going to ask you very nicely to return the stuff that you stole that doesn't belong to you. While all the while, the guy's having more, verbal diarrhea saying, oh, I declassified it with my mind powers. All I had to do was I just had to think it. That's all I had to do. And they were declassified. We're not talking about the classification. It's the fact that you stole the documents that didn't belong to you. That's the issue here. Oh, and these documents actually did belong to me because I said so. No, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. Well, I took them. Yeah, finders keepers. Yeah, I'm going to take these documents. Yeah, they're mine now. No, not how it works. Not how it works. Now, again, the fact that he and his lawyers do not want to admit that the DOJ's inventory is correct, I mean, it really tells you something, right? Because again, he had these documents. He failed to return them when he was asked very politely to do so, and then lied about not having any more documents when he clearly did, because later on, they found additional documents when they went and searched Mar-a-Lago. All of this obliterates his defenses. Again, if he admits in court that this is correct, then he can't claim that, oh, no, it was the FBI that planted them. And I didn't even actually have specific documents here. They say they weren't in my inventory, but somehow they showed up on the FBI's inventory. Nope. Can't do that. Can't use any of his other ridiculous defenses. And with no defenses, they have no choice but to attack. And the end goal of this attack is, I think, that they want Judge Cannon, who is a Trump lackey, to remove Dearie and find someone else. So they're going to go judge shopping to find somebody who will be willing to do whatever the Trump team wants to make sure that Trump ultimately gets away with things that, again, no one else would. No one else would. Now, the DOJ did push back in a letter on Trump's objections to the process laid out by Dearie, writing the former president, quote, bears the burden of proof in proceedings. Quote, if he wants the special master to make recommendations as to whether he is entitled to the relief he seeks, plaintiff will need to participate in the process, which they haven't. Again, the whole thing is obstruct, delay. Trump's lawyers fired back, accusing the Department of Justice of making antagonistic comments. Are you kidding me? I don't think there's anybody that makes more antagonistic comments than Trump. I guess Alex Jones might be a real close second, or maybe not. Maybe Alex Jones might be doing it more when you check on his, defamation case, where he's, literally calling the judge a tyrant, trying to link her to pedophiles, etc. So, he might take number one, but Donald Trump's very close number two. Going after the FBI. Attacking them with nonsense. I'm no fan of the FBI, for sure. But that's for stuff that they actually did. Not for the nonsense stuff that Trump just made up. Now, here's the text of that. DOJ continues to mistake itself as having judicial authority. Its comments are not argument, but proclamations designed to steamroll judicial oversight and the plaintiff's constitutional rights, Trump's lawyers wrote. You know what's funny is that even though Trump got everything he asked for, except I guess for the one thing he ultimately really wants, which is to just get away with everything, he still complains. But again, just like the special master request, I'm guessing that the letter that, they sent claiming the DOJ is, doing terrible things, being so antagonistic, it might actually backfire on him. In fact, according to Andrew Weissman, a longtime former federal prosecutor, he warned, quote, that the tone of this letter and skewed fact presentation is only going to piss Deary off. He is a fan of decorum and honesty. Go figure. Honesty and decorum. Interesting. Because you know what? That just happens to be two things that Trump and his team don't do very well with. So it's going to be interesting to find out where this goes from now on. Hilarious. All right. MAGA chuds have exploded in anger after famous musician Lizzo decided to play a flute, once belonging to former President James Madison. On Wednesday, Lizzo visited the reading room and flute vault at the Library of Congress's Great Hall, which would not be a newsworthy event. She simply got to play multiple flutes that were archived there, including a crystal flute that once was owned by Madison. Here's some of that.
Won't let me do it. Sorry, James Madison and his wife, Miss Madison. All right, I'm gonna just give you this.
All right. So later that night, Lizzo brought the flute on stage. She was allowed to, with her, at a concert, and played a little bit for the audience while remarking that history is freaking cool. But you know what? I agree. History is cool, which is why right-wingers hate it, and why they had a complete and utter meltdown. Well, okay, maybe that's part of the reason they had an entire meltdown. Let me give you some examples. Greg Price angrily tweeted this. The Library of Congress really took out a 200-year-old flute that belonged to James Madison just so Lizzo could twerk with it. You know, she was playing music, right? She knows how to play it, and she's good at it. No, all they cared about was the twerking. Oh, they're twerking with it. Here's what he also said. They degrade our history and then call you racist if you actually value it. Wait, who's they? And by the way, Greg Price, did I just hear you use a pronoun? I thought you guys hated pronouns. But there's more. It gets better. America First supporter Andrew McCarthy said this. Everyone involved in the decision to allow Lizzo to twerk while playing James Madison's flute needs to be deported. I don't care if they're citizens. Deport them somewhere. It's so unhinged. Absolutely Unhinged. There's more. Trump bootlicker Nick Adams. And again, this guy, if you've seen him on Twitter, Nick Adams, everything he says is pretty much North Korea level of ass kissing. Like, seriously, if Donald Trump were, president and he went bowling, Nick Adams is the guy that's like, oh yeah, no, he always bowls a perfect 300 and has no anus. Just saying. He's that guy. All right, but anyway, here's what he said. Biden administration is making a mockery of the country by letting Lizzo play the flute. She isn't talented enough to play music on a $20 Yamaha plastic recorder off Amazon. Wow. Unhinged. And Matt Walsh. Of course, we got to have Matt Walsh. He claimed that letting her play that flute was deliberately intended to antagonize white people. I guess he might be right, because all the people that have weighed in on this, these chuds, well, they all happen to be white. So I guess maybe he's right about that one. But here's his comment. Lizzo playing James Madison's flute was a form of racial retribution, according to the woke left. And I actually have no doubt that this is part of the reason why the Library of Congress facilitated this spectacle. It's racial retribution by the woke left. These people have brainworms. I'm telling you. Either they have the smoothest brains imaginable, or they look like Swiss cheese. I just don't understand. Okay? I mean, 99.5% of all white people, I would assume, are not bothered at all by Lizzo playing James Madison's flute. Nobody cares. 0.5% of the people who are angry out of the entire population are just MAGA chuds. No real people actually care. The only reason this is news is because these people are insane. And look, the reason this matters to them, by the way, is because Lizzo is a curvy black woman. And apparently that's the last type of person that anybody on the right, the far right, these chuds want to see playing an instrument. Look, I doubt any of these right-wingers even knew about the existence of the crystal flute. That was basically being held in storage anyway, right? Flute storage. And again, that's because right-wingers don't give a damn about arts and music. They really don't. I mean, every red state that I know of has defunded their arts and music programs in order to give tax cuts to the rich, corporations. And people like people like Walsh actively tell people that the arts and humanities in colleges, for example, are useless. It's a waste of money. We don't want to pay for them. We don't. No, of course not. Not only that, but they also hate history, as I mentioned. They want to erase it. They want to whitewash it while claiming to protect history. When in reality, they just want to protect statues of slave owners and racists. That's what they want to do. But, suddenly, though, you see, a black woman playing an old crystal flute, which, by the way, is kind of awesome. And then suddenly, right-wingers have jumped up to be the arbiters of defending art and history. And they're not. It's not about any of that. It's about the fact that she's black. Remember, one of them, I think it was Price, said they're degrading our history. They're degrading history. Who's they? Black people. That's what he means. If you're black, you're degrading history by touching a flute. I don't know, man. That sounds pretty racist to me. Look, I got some advice. Okay, For all those people, they're like, how dare you? How dare you call us racist? Well, you know what? It's real simple, okay? If you don't want to be called racist, maybe you should stop saying and doing racist things. And I go back to how in a lot of those responses, what triggered them was the twerking, right? How dare she? How dare she? No, stop saying racist things. And people will stop calling you racist. It's real simple. I'm sure you can figure it out. Okay. Go to Jordan Peterson.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Jordan Peterson loves to cry. In fact, I'm going to show you a video here breaking down during a recent interview with Piers Morgan.
I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional. Talk about that.
Well, God, you know. It's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category.
I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice. Jordan Peterson, you're not marginalized. The guy sold a ton of books. He gets millions of views. You know, he's not he's not at all marginalized. And now, as far as demoralized young men, there is a significant problem there. It is true. Now, the thing that is an issue with Jordan Peterson is that his advice to those young men who are marginalized, who are demoralized, is dog shit. It's absolute garbage advice. By the way, it's not centered on how to make you a better person or even how to, land a successful relationship. No, what his advice is centered on the belief that men are entitled to women's bodies and that if you're not getting laid, well, it's because it's not anything that you're doing. No, you're doing everything right. It's because the women's are bad. It's the fault of the feminisms. It's the fault of the transgenders. See, we don't like that. Oh, okay. But in reality, there is an issue, again, being with young men being led astray by so-called life coaches like Jordan Peterson, the Andrew Tates, the Petersons, the pickup artists, right? And they're all over YouTube. And all they do is teach young men to alienate themselves by being absolutely insufferable jerks. I got news for you. You're not going to find a meaningful relationship if you're an asshole. But let's go to more of this video. Take a look.
You've been so controlled today, and yet in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why?
It's really something to see constantly how many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word. And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. Give credit where credit is due. And to say, you're a net force for good if you want to be.
Do you believe you're a net force for good?
Net, yes. In all the details, probably not. No one's perfect. So people make their mistakes as they stumble uphill.
Is he a net good? Oh yeah, I'm totally a net good. I think I did right. I'm doing great. Is it people struggle? I struggle. You struggle because you had an all meat diet and put yourself into a freaking coma. What is wrong with this guy? Okay, you know what? I think maybe it's easier to ask what isn't wrong with this guy. He's going through some serious things, and he thinks that he is capable of giving good advice? No. And by the way, this whole thing is really about this part of the discussion was about how there was a movie, right? And a character is based in this movie off of Jordan Peterson, this incel person, right? And by the way, here's what Piers Morgan said about that. Quote, they're basically disenfranchised, mostly white men, that's incels, who believe they're entitled to sex from women. Now, Wilde elaborated that Peterson is someone that legitimizes certain aspects of their movement because he is a former professor, an author, he wears a suit, he does wear a fancy suit, and so they feel like this is a real philosophy that should be taken seriously. Morgan then asked about it, and again got that response. Are you the intellectual hero to these people? Morgan asked. Sure, why not? You know, people have been after me for so long because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is. All I do is speak to young men. Is that so wrong? When your advice hurts the men, the people that you were attempting to help, then yes, it is wrong. When your advice hurts women, when your advice hurts LGBTQIA plus people, when it hurts everyone, yes, that's when it's a terrible thing to do. And I'm not saying that young men don't need an outlet. I think they do. They need a positive role model. They need someone that is not Jordan Peterson. And so, no, he's not a net force for good. And by the way, some examples here of some of the horrible things he's talked about. He attacked Elliot Page and called the doctor that did his gender-affirming surgery a butcher. And then for some reason was very focused on Elliot Page's former breasts. That's weird. Why would you do that? He's also, again, helped put the trans community in danger with his rhetoric. Jordan Peterson, he's a bad person. No amount of tears is going to change that. And by the way, let me get to the last issue here. I think it's perfectly fine for a man to show emotion and to cry. I don't find anything wrong with that. I think that's a totally normal human response, and we do need to normalize the fact that men do have feelings. And that, yes, there is an issue with young men not having a positive outlet. But what's not fine is people like Peterson using that emotion to manipulate people. And that's what's going on here. That's what's going on. Now, remember, the incels, they are crying because they demand that women give up bodily autonomy. That they should be forced to give men sex because the men are sad. Oh, look at what you've done to these young men. You have made them sad because you won't have sex with them. Well, you're not required to. I'm sorry, but no, that's an emotional manipulation, and it's very, very messed up. Women are not only here for male gratification. That is not the only purpose of women. Their only purpose is not being a broodmare to incel men. No. If you're going to teach young men that lesson, then you're teaching them the wrong lesson. No, what young men need, if they want to have good, successful relationships, is the confidence to be themselves, to be who they are, to love themselves for who they are, to respect themselves, to respect the people around them, and to understand and respect healthy boundaries, be able to put up their own boundaries. And finally, to understand that women do not owe them their bodies. In the same vein, those bodies are not prizes to be won by acting a certain way, because that is, as well as emotional manipulation, right? Trying to be, the nice guy, right? The classic nice guy. I'm so nice to this girl and she won't have sex with me. Being nice does not entitle you for repayment in the form of sex. No, that's not how it works. Not how it works. Look, meaningful relationships, I think I might know one or two things about those: being in a meaningful, successful marriage for over a decade. Meaningful relationships are built on several things. Again, physical attraction is, yes, it is important, mutual physical attraction, but it's mainly, in my opinion, your personality, your values. You share similar values and you value each other. And look, gratitude is incredibly important. When you thank someone for doing something for you or for just being there, that's important. If you show that you value each other, then you're going to have a much better relationship with each other. One that is based, again, on mutual respect and caring about each other, caring about their personal, mental and physical well-being. That's important. Now, if you can, actually understand and practice those things, if young men are actually taught that by, good mentors, then you wouldn't need idiots like Jordan Peterson, who will ultimately hurt young men by leading them in the wrong direction. Okay. Moving on. All right. Prior to Hurricane Ian blasting the state of Florida, a Florida CEO had asked her employees if they were planning on coming to work anyway. Because, of course. Joy Gendusa, according to a video obtained by the Washington Post, told her employees, oh, you know what? I just want you to work through it. Work through the hurricane, as she believed it to be a quote-unquote Nothingburger that was just overhyped by the media. You know how the media loves to scaremonger about the weather. Hurricane Ian, it's going to be nothing. Don't worry about it. It's coming to work. In the video, which shows a meeting that Gendusa had with the employees on Monday, in which she asked them to raise their hands if they were concerned about the coming storm. Now, normal people are like, yes, we're a little concerned. It's projected to be pretty bad. So, we're being told to evacuate and all that stuff. So, yeah, we're a little worried. Well, she told workers that they didn't need to evacuate from the area because of the hurricane. Now, on Wednesday, it reached Category 4 with 150-mile-an-hour winds. But she says, quote, it's not going to be that bad, she told them when they expressed concerns, and then added, well, obviously, you feeling safe and comfortable is of utmost importance, but I honestly want to continue to deliver, and I want to have a good end of quarter. And when it turns into nothing, I don't want it to be like, great, we all stopped producing because the media and thought maybe that it was going to be terrible. Well, look, it was terrible. There were parts of the state that were hit by storm surge as high as 12 feet. Not 12 inches, feet. You had massive flooding. Cars, boats, even houses floating around the street. There's legitimately, and I know there's actual video of this, and it's been a trope for some time. But no, it got bad enough to where there was literally a shark swimming in the street. That was real. Over 2.5 million people in the state have lost power. Fort Myers is in shambles. This is a disaster, an absolute disaster in the state. So not exactly a Nothingburger, as you claimed that it was. But hey, well, look, got to make those company quarterly profits. You know what I'm saying? Get back in the mines. Get back in the mines. Now, of course, when Ian hit, the company had reversed course by announcing that its offices would be closed on both Wednesday and Thursday, but not before, of course, pissing off all their employees. Now, the company itself is Postcard Mania, and several of the employees spoke to the Washington Post on the condition of anonymity because they had feared retaliation, which again really shows you what kind of wonderful workplace this is, if the fact that They were, told to continue working even though there was a massive storm coming at them. Real great workplace. They said that Gandusa's comments made them feel underappreciated and exploited, which would, be true. One employee said, even when officials were ordering some to evacuate their homes, management expected them to work from the office. There is no company worth sacrificing for. I wouldn't give my life for any company. Agreed. Another one said, she's in her car driving away from us and telling us to keep working. It just felt wrong. I'm going to have to work and you're driving in your SUV taking off? Yeah. Another said there was a huge disconnect between her and her employees. Not everyone lives in a nice place or in a safe place like her. In a Wednesday email sent by company spokeswoman Lalau and shared with the Post, employees were told that Gandusa's remarks at the meeting were her personal opinion and not an official postcard mania position in any way. So that right there is, of course, PR. Ooh, no, negative press. We can't have that. Back it up, back it up, back it up. Following Joy's remarks, Postcard Mania's president, Melissa Bradshaw, took the meeting over and reiterated that making sure everyone was safe was our #1 priority. But some employees, of course, not buying it, and, well, they shouldn't be buying it. One worker told the Post, quote, she speaks for the company. She is the company. She is the boss. And even before the company agreed to give them paid time off, workers told the Post that most of them decided that they were not going to go into the office on Wednesday or Thursday. One worker even attempted to work from home on Wednesday, but because of the storm, couldn't get reliable internet. Understandably so. And now, that right there, I included that because I think that illustrates how incredibly broken our work culture is. I mean, again, massive hurricane, where even the CEO is gone, and they're still, like, trying to work. They're still trying to work. Isn't that amazing? I mean, for me, again, maybe it's super easy for me to say. Let's be honest, right? But if somebody says, hey, you still coming into work, right? You know, if I actually was working somewhere else and not for myself, I'd be saying no. And I'm not gonna put my life on the line to make you more profits, to pad your pockets. They don't even share profit margins with the employees. No, it goes right in there in the CEO and executives' pockets, the shareholders. Why should we as workers risk our lives to put money in your pocket? We're not going to see any of it. No, the answer is, of course, hell no. No and hell no. No job is worth your life. And yet, these people, a lot of these people, they want to say, no. Our profits are way more important than you. Our profits are more important than your lives and your livelihoods. We don't care about you. All we care about is money. That's who they are. Okay. Last story, related. All right. A CEO openly admitted that his company has been using inflation as an excuse to increase their profits. As according to a great article in The Intercept, the CEO of Iron Mountain Incorporated, a man literally named William Meaney. I mean, how ironic is that? He recently told Wall Street analysts at a September 20 investor event that the high levels of inflation of the past several years were good for the company because it helped increase their profit margins and that for that reason, he had been long doing, quote, my inflation dance, praying for inflation. Now, they write, and this is Ken Klippenstein writing, this comment is an unusually candid admission of a dirty secret in the business world. Corporations use inflation as a pretext to hike prices. Now, look, those of you watching, I doubt you're at all surprised. Again, it's probably the, most open secret we know. But we all know it. We all talk about it. But when the media, when mainstream media, when Washington, when they talk about it, they say, no, that's not right at all. No, what you're saying is disinformation. Oh, they're not. Of course, inflation is not being driven by profit margins. No, it's all this other stuff. And in fact, really, the biggest problem is there's too many people working. The economy is just too hot. That's what it is. There's too many people that are working. There's too much money on the worker, on the side of the workers in the economy. They've got too much leverage. It's too much money, too much profit for them. So we're going to have to tamp down on that. And I'll, of course, show you how they're doing that. Although I'm sure you already know. Look, mainstream media, why they call it disinformation is because mainstream media is a corporation and they defend corporations at all costs. That's the whole point of the media at this point. When you live in corporate, under corporate rule, you have these billion-dollar companies that sometimes will do wonderful reporting. But then they'll also tell you, oh, the reason that inflation is so high is because it's your fault. You got a $1,400 stimulus check. There are too many people working. And therefore, that's the big reason why things cost so much. They don't want you to know that you're getting screwed over by big business. In fact, again, they want you to blame these increased costs of living on workers. Again, even though wages have not kept up with inflation for decades, while at the same time corporate profits have skyrocketed. This is not an accident, everyone. And while, yes, you do have increased costs and supply chain issues, those are real and definitely have an impact on prices. But the fact that companies have continued to boast record profits, which are now at their highest level since 1950, means that they have not only absorbed those costs, but have continued to hike the prices on you, the consumer. In fact, Robert Reich, former labor secretary under Bill Clinton, who was actually pretty good on these issues for the most part, said corporations are using those increasing costs of materials, components, and labor as excuses to increase their prices even higher, resulting in bigger profit. And the other thing, of course, is that, again, even though we all pretty much have known this for some time, the brazenness of which they are now admitting it is incredibly astounding. In fact, on a 2018 earnings call, the same guy, William Meaney, did a racist caricature of Native American culture, telling participants that it's kind of like a rain dance, but it's a inflation dance. I pray for inflation every day I come to work because our top line is really driven by inflation. Every point of inflation expands our margins. It's not the only one there. Iron Mountain's CFO Barry A. Heitinen also said in the earnings call this past April that, quote, we do have very strong pricing power. And for the company, inflation is actually a net positive. Later on, they both did realize that it kind of looked kind of bad, with Meaney quipping, quote, I wish I didn't do such a good dance. But that's more on a personal basis than on a business model. Oh, does it look bad for you? Admitting that you're basically price gouging people? Now, Heitinen told an earnings call participants that, quote, we feel for folks regarding inflation, but we have a high gross margin business, so it naturally expands the margins of the business. oh man, we feel bad for you and all, but oh man, can't really do anything. But see, at least I have something that's going to make us feel better. You know what that is? Money. You should totally get some too. It's great. Turns out, money's fantastic to have. I bet you wish you had some. Yeah, well, we would. You weren't price gouging us. Now, that said, let me tie this into the Federal Reserve. So now, the Federal Reserve has been hiking interest rates. Now, they just made a recent, hike of like, what, 0.25%, quarter of a percentage point. And this follows other rate hikes. Now, the reason that they say they're doing that is, well, we up these interest rates, and that's going to bring down inflation. Is it, though? Is it? Now, Jerome Powell, who was the chair of the Federal Reserve, said back in May that his goal was to get wages down and then get inflation down. So again, he admits it right there. My goal is to get wages down. They want people making less, and they want less people working. You know what that means? That means more poverty. More poverty in a time that we already have an incredibly shredded safety net. So, that also translates into, and this is more key, it translates into less leverage for workers to, be choosy about what jobs that they take. It also has, it makes it so that workers can exert less pressure on employers to pay competitive wages and to offer benefits. It also weakens the nascent labor movement, which has been trying to flex its muscle in places like Starbucks and Amazon. There have been a lot of labor victories as of late, and unionization efforts. But they're saying, no. We're going to reduce the inflationary pressures. So, ultimately, these rate hikes will be a good thing. This will help you. We promise. Except that, no, it won't help you at all. In fact, here's Jerome Powell basically admitting it.
Chair Powell, will gas prices go down as a result of your interest rate increase?
I would not think so, no.
Okay. That matters because gas prices are one of the single biggest drivers of inflation. Energy prices overall drove a third of the inflation last month, but the Fed's tools, as you say, have no impact here. So let's look at another necessity, food. Price of groceries is up nearly 12% this year. Americans feel the pinch. No matter how much groceries cost, people still got to eat. Chair Powell, will the Fed's interest rate increases bring food prices down for families?
No, I wouldn't say so, no.
Okay.
So it's not going to bring down the price of gas. It's not going to bring down the price of food. But it will bring down wages and will make more people unemployed. Now, wait a minute. I thought that right-wingers, the government, was like, we need to get more people back to work. We need to get more people back to work. Oh, now they're saying there's too many people at work. Too many people that are working. Too many people. Wages are too high. Wages are too high. And this is while companies are bragging about making record profits in their earnings calls. Now, remember, after-tax corporate profits are actually their highest rate in 72 years. That's after taxes, meaning, of course, that corporations are not paying high enough taxes as well. And this is all while the Federal Reserve is actually projecting a nearly 1% increase in unemployment next year, following these aggressive interest rate hikes, and promises even more pain to come. You all understand here? This is how the system is rigged. This is how the system is rigged against labor. This is how the system is rigged against workers. This is how they crush you. This is how they get you to accept lower wages and worse working conditions. And the system is set up in such a way to allow this to happen. We have a campaign finance system where you have unlimited money in politics. These companies, they can do this because they buy our politicians. They own our Congress. They own our political system. And they make the rules. And then you combine that with, of course, unlimited corporate greed. Where these companies, again, their entire point of existence is to extract as much profit for their shareholders as public companies as they can. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Because if they don't, if the CEO is not like this, is not like a William Meaney, then they're going to get fired and replaced. Because again, the whole point of corporations is to maximize profit. And we have no real governmental body that is able to constrain that level of greed that we have now. And when you don't have any of that, this is the system that you end up with. We've got to get money out of politics. That's the most important. It is the issue that underlines all of these issues. Economic issues. Got to get that money out. We've got to get that corruption out. Got to get the greed out. We have to get these politicians back to representing the people. All right. That's all I got. So before I go, let me read some super chats from y'all. Spin Me a Sailcloth says, remind me, Jeff, how did Hypatia of Alexandria die? I don't remember, honestly. That's a good question, though. I'll have to look that up afterwards. LL says, Jordan Peterson embodies the cat with the teary eyes meme. That is a reference I understand. Speaking memes, I have the best words. The best words, the greatest words. All right, anyway. Gabby Mathis, thank you, very kind, $10. LL again says, capitalists believe that human life has no value outside of economic productivity. And that, again, that story, both of those stories really show you that that is, unfortunately, the truth. Okay. Let's go to Twitch here. Let's see. Rachel Rin, 0408, resubbed for a month to tier 1. Appreciate that. For 15 months. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Why Vote Tuesday? Thank you for resubbing with Prime. Yes, you know what? That's actually a good question. I like that handle because it's like, wait, why do we have voting on a Tuesday where people work? I wonder if that reduces turnout. I wonder if that's by design. Interesting. And that why is why is that not a holiday where people get work, not have to work? Why is there no voting holiday? It's insane, but again, all by design to not get people, or to make it so that less people vote. People don't turn out. Could be a weekend, why Vote Tuesday says. It could be a weekend. Yes, but there are still people who do work on weekends as well, to be fair. So I still think making it a voting holiday would be, very nice to have. And Republicans want to reduce early voting. That's true. But the one thing they hate is more increased voter turnout. When more people turn out, the right tends to lose. All right. Anyway, thank you for all of that. I really, really appreciate it. The super chat's wonderful. And all the support. You, of course, are all amazing, and I appreciate you. All right, everybody. Twitch. Let's raid. We're gonna just raid into the serfs. Fun. For everyone else, again, thank you all. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow for Good Friday show. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation.
I will eat your ass.
Wet ass keyword.
It's a viable baby in the womb.
No, 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 no.
Disappointed! You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
We will keep kicking your ass every single day.